everyone. Now we explore clean energy and transportation, empowering MSMEs making up 90% of businesses and over 50% of employment globally are key to our green future by adopting solar and wind power and electric vehicles. They can lead the charge in reducing carbon footprints. However, they face challenges like limited access to finance and technology. Support from governments, financial institutions, and larger corporations is crucial. Let's empower MSMEs to innovate and build a sustainable future. Let's now welcome our speakers for the session. Ms. Kapila Mehta, Vice President, Sustainability Power Products, Nida Electric. Mr. Manoj Kumar, Founder and CEO, NS Plus Technology Private Limited. Mr. Mohana Krishnan, Co-Founder and Chief Growth Officer, 82 Watt. Mr. Gautam J, Founder and Director, Integrated Energy Solutions Private Limited. I request all of you to take your seats on the dais, please. Now, it's my honor to introduce our esteemed speaker, Ms. Kapila Mehta. She has nearly 20 years of experience in various functions, including manufacturing, quality sales, R&D, strategies, marketing. Currently, she leads sustainability efforts for power products at Schneider Electric. As an electronics and communication engineer with further studies in operational management, she focuses. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Mohana Krishnan. He is a distinguished business leader in AI and technology. As the co-founder and chief growth officer at 82 Watt, he advances sustainable mobility solutions for enterprises. Previously, he led global product management and growth at Wipro Holmes, establishing it as a trusted AI platform. Now, I welcome him to speak a few words.
About 5 slides, so you can assume that it was short. It was meant to be short, right? And the second, I'm not going to do much of a plug-in about what we do as a company. I'll just very, very briefly cover it during the course of whenever the presentation comes through. Just a very quick intro, we are a data intelligence company in the EV space. Why EV? Why EV? If you look at the entire transportation sector, it contributes close to about, say, 24% of India's air pollution is caused by vehicles. And we don't talk about it much simply because we are part of the problem. Simply because we are part of the problem, nobody talks about it. We talk about things which is happening in Japan, we talk about rocket science and a whole lot of things, but we don't talk about what is happening on the ground. And the auto sector, again, a great contributor to the economy in terms of the jobs, in terms of the revenue, what it generates, and all sorts of things. But it's the biggest contributor of greenhouse gas emissions and as well as on the carbon dioxide. And also given the nature of growth, what India is likely to see in the coming years, that is going to quite accelerate in multiple ways, and we don't want to be party to that. And that is the reason why, not just in India, there is a huge emphasis globally across nations, more so in the developed countries, whether you take the European countries or you take US, there's a whole lot of emphasis which is happening on electric vehicles because transportation is a necessity. As she was mentioning, saying that you make choices. You try to make the best choices amongst the worst, whatever is available, right? Within that constraints, what various governments are trying to do is to promote electric vehicles, and it's just not about the governments promoting. Even citizens, even the people are aware of the assets, and they would want to contribute. There's a changing consumer preferences towards electric vehicles. Other aspect of why. Again, I had some numbers, probably I'll happy to share the deck in terms of what you're looking at. Again, based on various estimates, based on various projections which has been given, the Indian EV industry is likely to be about, say, close to about, say, $100 billion by 2030. That's, we are talking about next, say, 7-8 years, or say 6-7 years. And that's, we are looking at a close to a growth of a CAGR of about, say, 35 to 40% over the next 7 years or so. And it's also supported by, of course, as I mentioned, in terms of the consumer preferences, but also more importantly, the kind of the government support what is coming through. Probably if any of you have heard about Nitin Gadkari speak, he speaks so true about the EV industry. Sometimes he's probably the biggest champion what you have in the country today who's promoting EVs. But having said that, they're also doing the walk the talk in terms of the incentives what has been given, the various subsidies what has been provided, and also many of you would be aware of some of the schemes like the FAME 2. The FAME 3 is likely to come up in next year, and there is extensions like the PLI scheme, which is the production linked incentive schemes, and a whole lot of schemes which the government is backing up in terms of the numbers which is coming up. So there's a whole lot of emphasis which is happening on the EV industry in terms of its growth potential, and also its impact on the Indian economy. One is to look at from an pollution perspective. If you ought to even look at it from an other side of the economic perspective, let's say you want to talk about, let's say, the huge oil import the country makes, close to about, say, $150 billion. That's going to have a huge impact, and the EV industry to some extent can help in mitigating the risk or the challenges what you see with that kind of import bill. Given that context, that is where we are seeing the huge shift happening towards the EV industry. Why we are seeing such kind of a growth in the EV industry? Sorry, again, I'll have to refer probably if at all you get a chance to look at that deck, you'll be able to refer back what you're saying. If you look at the EV ecosystem, that's completely different from what we have traditionally been exposed as the ICE or the internal combustible engine ecosystem. You have players who are involved from the grid, the electricity. You have the fleet owners. You have what we call as the CPOs, or the charge point operators, who are running those charging stations. And you also have where the charging stations has to connect with the grid, and it has to connect with the EV. And there is a whole lot of exchange of data and energy which is happening between these three different systems. And on the other side of the spectrum, you have the various OEMs who are making these chargers, who are making these batteries, who are making these various vehicles onto play. And that's a completely new ecosystem which is out there, which is completely different from what we are seeing. And I mentioned there is a play of energy. There's a play of data which is happening, which is the data exchange is happening. That is creating this entire new ecosystem which is coming into play. And there's a whole lot of companies which are making that investments. If you look at many of the, whether you take the case of a Hyundai, you would take the case of a Tata Motors, or any of the companies, they are betting big on this entire EV as their growth engine. And even many of the countries or the companies which have traditionally said that I'm not going to get into EV are now looking at the EV as the option. So that's where it is. If you look at this, and a small plug-in about what we do. As I mentioned, we are into the data intelligence company, into the data intelligence. What we do as a company is to provide aspects around, let's say, the asset health. The asset could be the vehicle. It could be the charging stations. We provide that kind of insights. That is to begin with. So somebody could be, let's say, a fleet operator, some could be a CPO. They get the assets, insights into that. The second aspect of what we do is to provide predictability in terms of how soon is your battery likely to last, or how soon is it going to get depleted or degraded, so that you are able to make those kind of decisions. That's where we come in. Coming to, as I mentioned, my topic is not about how do we empower MSMEs. I'm looking at how MSMEs can be the front driver for the green transportation. when you are having this entire new ecosystem, it creates a huge lot of opportunities across the entire value chain of EVs. Whether you're looking at, let's say, the batteries, the EV battery, you could be making an EV battery pack, or you're looking at the cell level. There's an opportunity for various MSMEs to come into play. The other area which is available for MSMEs is in terms of making the motors which is required for running of those electric vehicles. They could be partnering with the large OEMs in supplying those motors. The third area what you have available is in terms of the charger manufacturing. See, today in the country, we have close to about 20,000 odd chargers available across the entire ecosystem. And it is estimated by 2030, we would need close to about, wow, okay. You can skip all this, Santosh. Probably, yeah, I can do that, yeah. Okay, so this was the ecosystem what I was talking about. If you see there, you have all the power companies, then you have players who are in the energy market. I'm talking about the right-hand side, right? And then the middle, you have all those charge point operators, you have the electric vehicles, you have the fleet operators, you have the financial payment gateways, and you have the charging management software, which is available across this. And then you have the various OEMs who are into the play. And this is a completely new ecosystem what is available. And now, how the MSMEs can capitalize on this entire growth. If you see here, you have all this, the battery manufacturing, which is available as an opportunity, which you could work with these OEMs. Then you have those, the motor manufacturers, or the motor manufacturing opportunity. Then you have the, the charger manufacturing opportunity, which is out there. There are quite a few companies which are set up operations within the country to do that. Then you have the charge point operations as a business, where it could be as a service industry. Someone could set up an CPO business for as low as, let's say, 7 to 8 lakhs, and they could be looking at earning money. If you look at the traditional way, you have all those petrol pumps, you need to get license and all sorts of things, but that is not applicable when it comes to a CPO. Then you have the other side of the spectrum, you have the battery swapping. Companies which are set up the business of swapping the batteries. I think Santosh mentioned about Magenta as a company. They are big into the battery swapping business. Then if you look at, there are companies which are into the electric fleet. Then you have companies which are into last mile connectivity, whether it's a company like an delivery or some of the, let's say, Zomato, someone who's also providing the last mile connectivity. You have the e-commerce firms who are betting big on those on this one. Then you have opportunities around the battery recycling, because even once the batteries die down, by the way, a battery costs close to about 40-50% of an electric vehicle. I'm talking about the cars, electric cars. Once it is died down, you have an opportunity of recycling it. And then on the final side, you have the companies which are into the software, and you have companies which is into the intelligence side of things. That's where we make the play. And finally, you have the companies which are specialized into EV financing. So if you look at it, there's a whole lot of opportunity which is available for the MSMEs to play and make a dent. And I mentioned that there's a multi-billion-dollar industry which is coming up, which is growing. And that is where the play for the MSMEs is available. What is required, or the need of the hour, is, of course, you need the government support. Whilst the government has providing a lot of opportunities or the incentives for it to happen, but also to see that if there could be other initiatives, let's say, especially around doing some amount of R&D or upscaling or some of those aspects which could come in play. The other thing which is saying that is in terms of the collaboration which is required across the various players. It is very difficult for one segment of this ecosystem to make everything happen on their own. You need a cross collaboration. So if there is an EV fleet company, they would also need a collaboration with the OEM partners. They would also need a collaboration with the financing companies. They would need a collaboration with the insurance and so on and so forth. So how do you do that? And finally, a great, robust ecosystem. And that's where the platforms like this, headed by Santosh, comes into play. That's it. Thank you. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop a note to me. Happy to